Okay, so tell me, what is Into the Woods?
Camera right.
Or you can look at me. No, that's fine.
Whatever. Into the Woods it essentially starts out as fractured fairy tales. It's the story of Cinderella, Rapunzel, Little Red Riding Hood. There's an evil witch, there's a big bad wolf, and of course they all come together through a quest from the baker and the baker's wife, who are childless, and the witch sends them on a quest to find ingredients, all of which have something to do with these other characters. Of course, deeper into the story, other than that, it's not just about the morality we knew as children. It's about the coming of age. It's about coming from that childlike state into being an adult. And that happens in Act 2, when the fairy tales all kind of join together, but things don't necessarily go as we remember them when we're children. So it's a morality play, but it's more than that. It's a realistic view on the childlike morality that we used to have and what it turns into when we make these realizations as adults.
I'm gonna actually sit over here. I think it might be okay. So tell me about Stephen Sondheim.
Stephen Sondheim is, in my opinion, the 20th century guru of musical theater. Prior to Stephen Sondheim, well, I'm sure there were other examples of this, but he's the best known one. Musical theater was vaudevillian. It was plot, let's do a musical number to explain this plot, and the musical number generally had sweeping melodies, as of most American 20th century music did, and it was backed up, and there were dances, and there were... Stephen Sondheim did not follow this mold. He... Mr. Sondheim's mold was to incorporate character changes via the Stanislavski method, the method acting, into the music, because the way that he saw it is the music should address what the character is experiencing. So it's not melodic necessarily compared to previous musicals to this era. It's personal. And when there is a key change, it's not just so you can sing higher, as had been previously addressed by other musicals. When you have a key change, it's because something has changed in the character at that point in the song. So it's more, Mr. Sondheim was more addressing the real big push in the late 20th century towards realism. Even with regard to music. Of course we don't break into musicals, which I wish we did, that'd be awesome. Every day, but he tried to address that problem, that disconnect between what we had referred to as straight theater and what we had referred to as the musical. And Mr. Sondheim brought it together by making these changes in the music character-based instead of just musical-based.
Tell me about some of the characters that are new to us. Some characters maybe we haven't seen before in fairy tales.
Right. The narrator is of course, he tells the story to the audience because that's the way this is a storybook setting. We're not going for extreme realism with regard to the plot. The characters are realistic, but the narrator is the one that furthers the plot. And then we have the baker and the baker's wife, who have appeared in various, bakers have appeared in various fairy tales, but the baker and the baker's wife are the ones that kind of bring everything together and make the connections between Little Red Riding Hood and Jack's mother from Jack and the Beanstalk. And these are really the only three characters that are not traditional per se.
Is there some musical numbers from this that have made that people will recognize?
Not likely. There's no Send in the Clowns number. As Mr. Sondheim is known for his work in A Little Night Music, Send in the Clowns was extremely popular. While there are chorus numbers, in a traditional opera setting, you have chorus numbers, you have recitative, which just furthers the plot, and then you have arias. And the aria, and this is set up the exact same way. There are chorus numbers, there are numbers that are just sung to further the plot, and there are arias in which the characters kind of express who they are and what their inner feelings are. But none of these were ever, while it did win a number of Tonys in 1988 when it debuted, none of the numbers ever made the mainstream, per se.
Okay. Who is going to enjoy this production?
Oh, I think anybody. Anybody. It's especially... while a story of fractured fairy tales may seem idyllic for a younger audience, this is not necessarily, while a younger audience will appreciate it, it is not focused on a younger audience. It's in fact focused on an older audience, because we see all these characters growing up throughout the show. It's moving from basic child good and bad, from morality per se, into sometimes good is bad, and sometimes bad is right. And of course, good, bad, right, and wrong are themes throughout a lot of the different songs. And this show is really for people that are reflective, that want to remember their growing up. And I think anybody that watches this show at any given moment will have a time when they say, oh, that happened to me, or that happened to me, which is rare considering we're dealing with fairy tales. You don't, Big Bad Wolf has never approached you in the woods, but the way that it's done by Mr. Sondheim, and of course James Lapine, who wrote the book, who won the Tony for the book, it's approached in a way that I think everybody will have lived some of these moments that they'll see in the show.
Why did you want to do this show?
I was in this show when I was 18. I played the Big Bad Wolf and Prince Charming. If you can imagine a 5'6" Prince Charming. And I didn't understand it at the time. I just thought, oh, this is fun. It's really difficult. And then as I went through a bit of theater education, I kind of realized what was going on. And I think, for me, I wanted a second chance with this show. I don't think that my first experience with the show gave me what I needed. While we had a very good director, and perhaps some of the older members of the cast did appreciate it, I was 18. It didn't make sense to me. 9 years later, a lot more of this hits closer to home, and I think I wanted a chance to revisit that.
What thoughts would you have for people who maybe they're on the fence, they're thinking, I don't know, maybe I want to go see this, maybe I don't. What would you say to convince them to come to this show?
Well, my cast, first of all, if you want some of the best singers and actors in the Ohio Valley, then come to this show. I have Dr. Linda Cowan, who's been my vocal coach, and she's playing the witch. She's has her PhD in voice from Rutgers University. John Riley, who's ABD, he practically has a PhD in theater, was my mentor for many years. The best actor in the Ohio Valley, I'll say that, and I don't think that anybody would argue that knows Mr. Riley. If you like good singing and good acting, then this is the show for you. And who knows, maybe you'll glean something from it. My goal as a director is to have the audience walk out and reflect. It's not vaudevillian. It's not to go in and have a raucous time. While that will occur, while you'll laugh and you'll cry and you'll enjoy yourself like a vaudevillian show, the difference between Stephen Sondheim and Rodgers and Hammerstein is you walk out of Stephen Sondheim and you reflect. And you maybe learn something, as opposed to just having a good time. And especially as an educator, which is the devotion of my life, that's what this show does.
Any last thoughts? Anything else you want to get in on this, maybe?
Come see it. I don't know that the Brooke Hills Playhouse has ever had a better cast. And that's by no means of mine. I got lucky. I've probably learned more from my cast than they've learned from me as a director. But that's why I do this. It's that constant growth. And I think that's what theater and music, that's what it has to offer to society, is a constant growth, not just in a matter of books and reading, and it's a personal thing. When you read a book, you revel in the story, but you're not personally attached to it. You can't help but go into a show like this but not feel attached to it. Then you walk out, it's become a part of you. And that's my goal.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. That is excellent.